Hello, adventurers, and welcome to Roll for Bluff, our ongoing talk show where we discuss our Bards of Noble campaign. Tonight's episode, which is entitled The Altruistic Aasimar, is quite an interesting one, I think. Joining me tonight, we have Tristan, who plays Soren Thunderfist, and we have Brandon, our amazing DM, and I'm Sam. I play Calmine, the Tiefling Rogue, in our campaign. These two will be joining me tonight as my cohorts, as well as my sacrificial lambs.
Wait, what?
I should have read the fine print.
I find an excuse to leave.
No. You're in it now. In it to win it.
You're stuck over there. I could leave that way.
So, at the end of the last episode, we were granted permission to stay at the Fortress of the White Talon due to some tasteful negotiations, maybe.
Some tactful wordplay.
Right.
Some newfound friendships and connections that the group...
Friendships.
Tactful.
Connection.
Negotiations.
Pretty much some sheer dumb luck. And some clever role-playing from the group allowed you to pretty much stay there for free.
Yeah.
Other than the deal that was made for them to become part of the postman.
Right.
So, upon waking up in the morning, you, Sorn, and Leon all had, you all got up at different times, walked around, looked for people, didn't know where Liren was.
No idea where she was.
No one searched until later. Which I found to be hilarious.
I mean,
guys like, she's got to be somewhere.
To be fair, I was the first person who was walking around like, where's so-and-so? Wonder where they are.
And everyone else was like, I don't know. We're not going to go look.
Soren just went to peace and quiet.
Gee, thanks, you bunch of buttholes.
So, later in the morning, you were summoned to Marshall's room.
Right.
And he asked all of you to be there. And when only 3 of the 4 showed up, he was very confused. And he was, where is Blue, your watery friend?
No idea. No clue. But where she turned out to be was
in the horse trough.
Pretty funny.
It was great. Because I rolled, I had a few places where no matter, because Leon and her drank. Leon rolled high enough to be able to go back. But if they rolled low, I had a table I was going to roll on. And she just happened to... landing on the horse trough one and, was sleeping in a watery bed.
Fortunately, she can breathe underwater.
So, yeah, it was great.
Worked out.
It was very well done.
So, eventually, some of Marshall's men found her in the stables and helped her find her way to Marshall's room. And then from there, we received our kind of half-drawn map from Marshall, which was beneficial.
You got a little insight.
Yeah.
You got insight into 2 rooms out of 50.
Well, I mean, it's still better than none, so still beneficial. And we kind of wound up somehow agreeing that instead of just going on and fighting Gangu right after we found what we were looking for, that we were going to come back. And I don't know how we kind of got suckered into that. That wasn't my original plan. But we wound up telling Marshall, if we're not back in 3 days, consider us, dead. Which Cal was kind of like, well, wait a minute. We have no idea how big this place is. It could take us more than 3 days to explore it. That's stupid. But it was what it was. So we wound up leaving. Soren went to go find Jeroen. And had a nice little interesting conversation with the young lady.
Yeah, Kiki doesn't want to hear anything that Soren has to say anymore.
But we want to hear what happened.
Yeah, so you give it to us.
Soren tried to explain his position, and Kikyo didn't want to hear it.
He was like, Kikyo, I like you. I just can't right now, girl. I got too much going on. She's like, no, it's fine. I see where your priorities lie. And oh boy. Oh, my heart.
She didn't want to hear anything about him not coming back to the Badlands. She had that purely in mind.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's not how this is going to work right now.
She wants you to become chieftain. She wants you to become the president. She was going to be the Michelle to your Barack. She was going to be there for your rise to greatness.
And he's like, well, that's not really my goal. I'm not looking to be chieftain of all these Goliaths.
Which is fine. She gets it. She understands.
Sure, she understands.
Yeah, sure. Just sure, like it whenever a woman says, fine. I understand. It's fine.
It's fine. No issue. She gets it. Later, just making a carving of your face just to stab it.
Oh boy. Yeah, I can't wait for that noise. Then Leon went to go talk to Devin, told him about the 3 days, but then was like, wait a minute, like, I'm not sure. Cal, what are we doing? And Cal was like, maybe 4 days. And then Devin was like, 5 days. Got it. Because Devin's not a dum-dum.
Devin was like, you guys are going to be in there for a while. I don't want to assume you're dead.
So it's kind of like try to keep the peace. And then Cal went to the postman to try to do the same thing. And
His name is Philip.
The postman. Okay, his name's the postman. It was always going to be the postman. I don't
No,
care.
his name is
I don't
Philip.
care if his name's Philip. Cal doesn't care if his name's Philip. His name's Postman.
I don't care.
I don't care.
It's also a really fun alliteration.
Philip the Postman?
Yeah. Alliterations everywhere. They're my favorite.
It doesn't work with it. It may start with a P, but the f sound versus the p sound.
Alliterations are just the same letter. It all matters.
Let's not argue the nitty-gritty linguistics of it, guys. Anyway, Cal told the postman, Philip, the orc dude, whatever, that basically he needed to kind of be smart around Marshall, and she kind of wanted to say a little bit more than that, like maybe like about how he had stabbed the former Light Town leader through the chest or something, and that,
Maybe
maybe it was a little shady, but Cal also, you never know who's watching, so...
Mention it to him when we come back.
Yeah, so...
If they're there, yeah.
After the, if they're there, which... By the way, taking bets that he will not be there, but we'll see what happens.
Place your bets. You have 24 hours when this video comes out.
So after the words, they regrouped in the courtyard and they made their way down to the room where they had been previously before and fought the stone golem thing.
Giant golem. And began their descent into the actual ancient civilization. From that lasted for a couple thousand years, and the past 500 is when it... upon going in, you notice how decrepit and how broken and aged everything was, and how really nothing had touched it in a long, 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 long time.
Well, seeing how it had a guardian, it made some sense.
Yep. So you got down there, and immediately, with people's passives, they could kind of tell something was watching. So the entire group was like, what's going on?
Yeah, we were like, what this? Who dare? What they do? What they be? And as we kind of made our way through the second room, we come across this crystallized structure. We kind of got the feeling that was what was watching us. And
lo and behold.
It was.
It was watching us. Now, what exactly triggered it? Was it the sword?
Yes.
We were in sword triggered it?
Yeah. Some people have gone by and raided the place through cracks and then like spelunking and doing that, not going through that main room.
Imagine that's how Marshall got through. Yeah.
But it's a pain.
Yeah.
So he, no one else had been around, and even if they went past this room like he did, it wouldn't have activated her, it wouldn't have triggered her tattoo. To which, they heard a large, and the crystalline structure fell as an individual ran out from there holding her own sword, charging straight at Lear, and was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Not even that. It was like, you killed my daddy, kind of.
You killed my master. Well, hold on.
Yeah, so that resulted in Cal being like, I'm going to try to charm you.
Okay, yeah, this is a point where it was like everyone tried everything but trying to stop her.
Leon tried to do detect thoughts to figure out what's going on in her head. I was like, I don't know how that stops her, but it's a good thought to know what she's thinking, I guess. And then Sorn,
was like, God damn it, hold on.
The big smart dum-dum is just like, you're in my arms now. And that worked.
Because she wasn't, it's not like she was like a big person. I mean, because we know that she's an Aasimar, but she's not a huge person. It was like, okay, I'm pretty sure my strength is going to be a bit more than
Worst
her.
thing she could have done is gone polymorph.
Yeah.
Polymorph Sorn again!
Yeah.
But still, it was the fact that it was like, charm doesn't work. Detect thoughts, that's not good. Dang it, guys, hold on.
We did, however, learn from Detect Thoughts that there had been a man who had killed her master, and the sword had broken in half or something like that. And then through some sort of like trying to calm down.
Well, she got more upset.
Yeah, first she got more upset. started sort of like freaking out because somebody happened to mention that
the civilization had been destroyed a couple hundred years ago.
She thought it'd been like 50 days, and he's like, "Oh, no one's been down here for 500 years," and she's like, So, we kind of had to calm her down, get her to a place where we can be like, okay, we're going to have him let you go and we're going to talk. Like, that's what we're going to do. That's what we want to do.
She's like, it's fine. The hug helped.
Yes,
the grapple is definitely a hug.
Because our guest player for this character was our artist, Nancy. It's her first ever time ever playing.
She did good. Yeah, good. Good for her. And she, by the way, her artwork is amazing. I can't wait to share it.
We can't wait for
We're super excited for it. But yeah, so Nancy was playing, what was her name?
Orisha.
I can only remember because I thought it sounded like Clarissa explains it all, but she was like, Orisha explains it all.
And she explained that it was Tedivilis who had killed her master and who had, her master had broken the sword or whatever. And so Cal and Lyran are like, let's not mention Tedivilis just yet. But she recognized that other part of the sword as Tedivilis' sword, so she was very curious at how Lyran had that sword.
Yeah, and eventually you were like, okay, let me level with you.
I didn't know how that was gonna go. So, we wound up kind of sort of talking her into helping us find the other part of this weapon, and because we explained to her that we wanted to use it to kill Yangu.
And Tedivilis was on the list.
Tedivilis was also on the list. And she, I guess, was okay with that.
She didn't need to roll inside out at all. She could just look at you and go, yes.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it was definitely one of those things where she could tell that we weren't like an evil group. Partially because we didn't kill her immediately.
So she kind of helped lead us through this sort of underground civilization, which was really helpful because we would have
my God! There were a
lot of time.
There were so many rooms you guys could have gone in.
Yeah. But it was helpful to kind of like get in, go to the objective, and be there instead of like.
And it was relatively easy, but it was noted that she didn't remember exactly everything, and this is through your knowledge giving, but everything is still a little fuzzy. Everything's run down. Different pathways are shut down, so it was like. There was a little bit of a struggle. It wasn't like, oh, let's just stroll this way and avoid every kind of problem ever. It was like...
the algae, if you touched it. If one of you guys... I have expected one of you guys to just be like, oh, the water.
No.
I have expected you guys to just be like, cool, it used to be a holy temple. There's no way this is bad.
No, that is not at all what I expected. Why would the DM ever be that nice?
Right, because didn't we run into the necrotic... algae first.
Yeah.
Yeah, then that meant everything beyond that point was tainted.
So you're saying I should have let you jump into the tainted water first and then be like, oh yeah, the algae's bad too.
Probably. I mean, to be 100% honest with you, I would have tested that water either way.
Oh, there's somebody at the table, Leon, who might have still tried it.
I mean, yes. But it depends on how fast I would have been like, no, stop, don't. No, please, don't jump in the... Okay, he's there. Guess I don't have to waste my time. So, we managed to, for the most part, avoid the algae and avoid the tainted water. We did eventually get to a room where it was really dark in the center and none of us could see that far enough, but we could hear, like, snarling, shuffling, like... We can only assume that they were like Noli boys, Noli zombie boys,
and some just cultists,
just some random cult boys,
just
being
some
down
dudes.
There. And we tried to sneak past them, but
one of them rolled really high in perception.
Yeah, one of them must have rolled pretty well, and
19, I think
you didn't do too hot on your stealth.
No, you rolled
low. It wasn't bad.
No, even with pass out trace, it wouldn't have beaten a hard DC.
Yeah.
No.
So it wound up eventually getting to the point where they could smell us. At which point Cal was like, "Well, I don't think we're getting through this," and was like Eldritch Blast, but that didn't really
fire from the hip.
Misfire. So yeah, it didn't really go so well at first, but once we kind of got into it, and then Nancy with her Aasimar bard and that fireball took out like 4 guys. It was like
I was hoping I made that encounter in a way where it was going to be challenging because they were going to spiritual weapon then hold person like they did.
Right.
I was hoping they would go. They rolled too low. They rolled after you. So if they would have gone first in the initiative order, they would have ran up and went spiritual weapon, hold person, and then you guys would have been like getting hit by things you guys couldn't have stopped, and the Lord. It was a hard encounter if things happened, but you took out 3 of my dudes in one go.
I mean, it didn't help that was the first pack leader that was in front of us. Jeroen got to first, and then I went right after Jeroen, which I went to the same exact one.
Right.
So you have 2 Goliath barbarians going, "Hey, bud, you're gonna get hit 4 times here."
And he critted.
and he critted, so it was just like, goodbye, pack leader.
I mean, there was a couple moments that sucked. At one point, one of the party members was paralyzed, and then 4 of the party members were being held, by hold person after the cultists came out. And there was only 2 people that could do anything, but we kind of got back into it once
As
people
a turn order
did their wisdom saves and everything kind of worked out in the end, and we wound up taking them down without suffering too much. I mean, I know a couple of us were
down to half health,
but I mean, still, that's not. We've been at way worse before, so it went pretty well.
Just you wait.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. Until tomorrow. Tomorrow, when this comes out, we're probably gonna die. So thoughts and prayers. So anyway, we made it through that room. Sort of continued on towards what appeared to be a fissure in the ground.
And you went down to the next floor.
We went down to the next floor. There was a fissure in the ground, and we were there was a spire or something crossing it after a
little edge path that was made that was left from what should have been a pathway, but the crack in the mountain through disrepair kind of made that no more than 5 feet wide.
Yeah. And some of us were oh, maybe we should cross the spire, and some of us were no, let's not.
Now, is this where we had passed by the torture chamber?
No, that's later.
No, that's later.
Okay.
Yeah. So what would have happened if we would have crossed that spire? I'm curious.
Oh, you guys would have had to make a hard DC.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. And, I'm assuming it would have been probably, either athletics or acrobatics?
Yep.
Yeah, so...
If you guys would have fallen,
you would have died.
That character sheet that you guys have prepped would have just been read out.
Yeah, pretty much. So, glad that we decided not to do that, because I thought that might be the case. So, once we sort of, kept going along the little side path, we made our way into a room... that had, what was it, it wasn't a healing pool, what was it?
It was a pool where they would plunge weapons in and dip them in holy water.
That's right. So nothing really in there. We kept moving, and we eventually headed north, and we passed by
a torture
room.
What Orisha remembered to be the torture chamber where a demon got through. They would torture and get the essence from. It's kind of where your subclass came, your rogue subclass came from. Was from the study of demons through this civilization and others, where they would torture demons and learn how to best elicit, the maximized pain to stop them from coming back and try and eradicate them. And you heard a...
And...
Now, can you tell us what that was?
Nope.
No.
I'm assuming we'll probably have to deal with it later.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm not wrong. Which is part of the reason why I didn't really want to have to go all the way back, because if we had avoided monsters, I didn't want to have to go back past them and then back past them again. But here we are. Yay! So we did successfully manage, well, I don't know how successful, but we managed to pass by the torture chamber without confrontation. At one point, we
stopped
passed after we passed, but I don't know if that necessarily means it did or did not know where we were. Now, at one point, we did pass an area that you said it kind of used to have an elevator going down, and you made a comment to Orisha about it being sort of was it calling to her or
Yes.
Yeah. So it was calling to her. Fortunately, we didn't wind up having to go down there because I'm assuming that would have been bad.
No, it's been fine.
And then we made our way into a room that was the forge. And...
Well, right before we went into the forge.
So there was a basin filled with water, and Orisha was like, oh, we have to dip our hands in the water because it's tradition. And, she dips her hands in, and there's, holy radiant light, and it's and other people are like, okay, and Cal's like...
Drew and I are just bloop.
Cal's like, I hope I don't burn my pinky off. Sticks pinky in. Okay, it's fine. Hand's fine. Like, thinking it's, like, holy water. You're like, oh.
It was, but not that kind of holy water.
Okay.
It was warding of evil water.
Gotcha.
So if any of us were an evil party, it would have been like...
It would have wouldn't have reacted until you got into the next room. And then immediately...
So, we dipped our hands in the holy water and then made our way into the forge room, where Arisha could... you could feel the heat from the forge, and she could hear the sounds of people tinkering with weapons. And this room was very large. You want to describe it?
It was, imagine a kind of an amphitheater of a forge. As you look down from the gallery, there are smaller forges and anvils and other ways to tinker and tool with metalworks and to create weapons and shields for lesser craftsmen, also for not as detailed work. Down farther is a waterfall that goes across and makes a small quilting basin where you could put the blades in and shields in after they've been tempered. And in front was a very large ornate forge. The coals had long since been doused. No scent or fire was coming out.
But there sure was heat.
There was heat radiating from the forge. And behind it lie 4 statues of 4 angels, each holding a different weapon, and 3 terracotta soldiers and 1 broken shambles. Lay waiting there, facing towards the forge, weapons ready.
And sure enough, we get down in there and we start talking about it, and
Arissa notices an ornate way to place the blade up onto the wall, a mantle, where the blade was, and a blade that she felt connected to currently was.
Yeah. Now, this whole time, like, as she gets into this room and gets closer, she starts feeling a pain coming from her back. And it's worth noting she did have a tattoo on her back. She has a
tattoo with Celestial on it with a white gemstone that had been cracked. The tattoo was molded with a brand from the blade itself. Around that brand was Celestial riding around in a golden tattoo tint.
Yeah. So as we kind of get closer to it, Cal sort of asked her, like, hey, do you see the sword? And she's like, yeah, I do. And she was, so Cal's like, well, do you think that we can get it? Like, would you, is it okay if Lyran just goes up and gets it?
Well, this is where she remembers that she is the lore master.
Right,
as
and
it's called.
She's the only one who's allowed to have it.
Or give the right
away. And at that point, Cal was like, all right, let's play this. Let's see how this plays out. And is like, so she has that sword because Titavilis, I don't know whether he gave it to her or she took it from him.
You'll find out eventually.
Because Titavilis was her adoptive father and my father. And, Cal prefaced this statement by saying Titavilis is a horrible monster and we want him dead. To sort of assuage any sort of
doubt.
And kind of tried to convince her to, give the right to have the sword to Lyran. Because Cal's mind was sitting there going like, okay, this sword broke in half. That sword's a half of that sword. If we can get them back together and, like, let Lyran attune to it, then maybe that's a way that we don't have to give the sword to anybody else.
I mean, granted, because that sword that everyone's talking about no longer exists.
Because there's the sword that Hannah swords the Rapier of the End. Mm-hmm. You know that sword on that pedestal is the sword of Demon's Bane.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What they named it, and it's the sword of the beginning. Mm-hmm. So there's the sword of the beginning and the sword of the end. The Rapier of the beginning and the Rapier of the end.
Right.
So they were eventually forged together.
Right.
Yeah. So after a little bit of convincing and a little bit of talking out, Arisha agrees. And then we also find out that she would, because I guess the angels, as soon as we walked further down into it to do this, the angel statues come alive.
Sort of the terracotta soldiers, and they're like, what are you doing?
Howdy, partner.
Cal's immediately like, nope.
Angels. They got wings.
Nope.
They're the opposite of me.
They're like bird people.
They're like magical bird people.
Magical bird people.
And in Celestial, which only Orisha and Francesca knew.
Yeah.
They pretty much stated, like, what is your purpose here? Why are you here? And then she's like, Orisha was like, I'm the lore master, and like, prove it.
So she shows her tattoo and the gem. They're like, we knew you were coming.
So what would you like from us? Would you like the blade for yourself? And she was like, I want to give it to them. And that's when the angels are like, oh, we understand. But here's the thing. In your weakened state, in its weakened state, in the weakened state of the entire civilization, to do that, you're going to have to infuse your soul into it to power it up long enough for it to survive the melding back in. To which,
like, oh no.
To which everyone was like, she has to what now? We just met her.
Yeah.
Why you gotta do this? Like,
so it was more or less like she would have to sacrifice herself, and the angels kind of explained that her sentience would become part of the blade, but her body would be left in the forge to be a protector like the other terracotta guards there. And, we're kind of like,
you don't have to.
You don't have to. I mean, it would be really great if you could.
But we understand. We don't want to force you to murder yourself.
Of course, there's that moment, like, as a player in my head, I'm sitting there going like, well, everyone you know and love is dead, so what does it matter? Just go ahead and sacrifice yourself. And that's just a
brutal.
That's a player, not Soren.
I know, that's a brutal way of looking at it.
I mean, to be fair, though, I was thinking the same thing. If I had been Nancy's player at the time, I would have been like, well, okay, I'll do it, sure. So I guess I wasn't too surprised.
So she willingly gave up her life to become the energy, because it played into the theme of what you've seen so far. Things being the life fuel for other things.
Oh, you mean like possums?
But
that was one time, guys.
Yeah, and Soren crushed a horse, and we still bring that up. It doesn't matter if it's one time; it's all it takes. You cut the flesh off of me.
That was also one time.
And guess what? We don't forget
throwing at the flesh. So yeah, there was like a theme of it takes the power of a soul to truly give something enough power to fight a demon. So, she lays down on her stomach with the tattoo exposed, and the angels go, this is going to hurt. And they take the blade and they just shove it into her back, and then rip out her essence. As her the gemstone in the back pops out and fills itself and creates a hole, it goes into the other part of the hilt. And the nice little bit that she got was that when she went into the blade, she heard her best friend and mentor, Master Marks, going, I knew you would make it! And so she was like, oh my god, you're not dead forever!
You're in here with me!
Yeah. So they became in total fusing force because Hannah's blade flipped out of reality. And then in a blinding flash, everything went back to normal. You saw, though, right before, you saw Orisha's body fully wings come out. She became a full angel. She ascended from her mortal coil and became an angel protector of the forge. So she is there forever. Her body is, at least. And the flash of light, everything went back to normal. The angels were back in their statue form. The terracotta soldiers were there, and laying on the pedestal, the anvil of the forge, was the blade.
To which I was like, you want to go grab that, sooner rather than later?
Now, how mad would you have been if you would have heard, if you would have just heard, dude, that was easier than I ever could have imagined.
I would have been pissed, which is why I was like, Liren, get it, just grab it,
as you go for it, you see a white hand grab the blade.
I would be like, Elders Bless, I don't even care, you're gonna kill me, just get away.
Come on, man.
So Liren stepped forward to pick it up, and all of a sudden there's still more angels going like, hey you, picking up the sword. Oh no.
When she understands this now telepathically, I'm assuming because of the properties of the sword, they basically give her the position of lore master.
They tattooed her through the sword itself. She hears it in her mind that she has now become the lore master. And you see the radiant glow of the tattoo in Celestial on her back. It says lore master, and the tattoo that was on Orisha is now on her. Now the whole font and all.
That won't come back to bite us in the ass.
At all, ever.
Right?
I have no idea what you're talking
about. Right? We did good, right?
You did the best you could.
Oh no.
That's the nicest way to put it. You did the best you could, champ.
Now, and so then after Hannah says, or Lyran says yes to being the lore master, and they gave her the tattoo and everything, she is instantly attuned to the blade.
Yes.
She can now call it in and out of existence.
Which makes me very happy, me, Cal, very happy, because I'm like, haha, take that, Fox.
Well, see, and this is where I'm sitting there going, like, if Fox goes, I want the sword, I was like, well, sorry, the sword doesn't exist anymore. Because to that
Semantics.
point...
Semantics matter.
The Demon's Bane, or the
rapier of the beginning,
does not exist anymore. It
You're
is
right.
no longer a thing.
And to be fair, I would try that first.
It's the sword of divine banishment.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's a
totally
totally different
know
thing.
what that is.
None of you know that's the name.
Right.
Yes.
So we managed to get her attuned to it, and it was that was kind of where we ended things for the night. It was an interesting session for sure. It was fun to have Nancy on board. She's new to it. But she did really well for somebody.
Yeah, right? I hope. I would not mind if she was able to be permanent, but that's all up to how things go.
That's all up to Nancy.
Yeah.
Nancy.
If you're watching, when you're watching.
One of us.
Tomorrow, though, we're having another special guest. I mean, do you want me to say who it is?
No.
Makes
it less of a special guest.
They're not that important.
Wow! They are a very special guest to me and to...
They're special to you.
Yes.
Okay, he's special to all of us.
Yay!
He's just special.
Right. So be excited for tomorrow for a character that is polar opposite to Orisha.
What could that possibly mean?
Chaotic evil?
Oh my god, you're right!
Not that type of polar opposite.
Yeah, you just said polar opposite.
So, any comments, questions for me? Anything you want to ask that I could potentially tell you?
I think at this point, if we're not ready for the ass kicking of a life tomorrow night, I think we are probably never going to be ready.
You guys are going to be in for a treat.
He says it like it's a good thing.
There's only one way you're going to make it harder on yourself, and it depends on what you do getting there. Depending on the path you take to get there, things will either be as intended or harder. There is no easier. Mm-hmm. I'll let that be known right now. You did the easier path. You just finished it.
Good for me that I can remember it, but let's see how well Cal remembers it tomorrow.
Yay!
Thought process. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We're really looking forward to this fight. I think we're gonna kick some Yengu ass, but some of us may die. That is a sacrifice
I am willing to make.
So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks again, you guys. We will see you tomorrow night. Let's see what happens.
Bye.